What's up, YouTube? My name is Uncle Smokey, and this is Uncle Smokey Stock Trades. And before I start this video, I would like to say, I am not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice. So please take what I say with a grain of salt, and do your own DD. What's going on, guys? So, it looks like everybody's seeming to like the new format better, so we're just going to wing it from now on. Let's do this. Today, we're obviously going to talk about Meta, MMAT. We better not say Meta. They might get confused with freaking Facebook, right? It was a shit day. We know that. And I've got a theory behind this shit day. As we know, the markets were red. Everything was freaking red. Non-stop blood in the market. Is it a crash? I don't know. Is it a correction? I believe so. But here's what I think happened with Meta and with many other of the meme stocks today. So I'm just going to go ahead and break right over to that 9-stock chart that I showed you guys yesterday. I did switch it up a little bit today. I put a lot of the meme stocks in here. I actually hold several of these stocks. Of course, MMAT, AMC, Root, PROG, Prog. I do hold that. Let's see, what else did I put in here today? BB, I used to hold that. I still hold some NAKD, and I never did hold the SPCE, but still a meme stock nonetheless. But what I want to point out is every single one of these things moved exactly the same, and I mean almost to the T the same. And that I don't believe was by happenstance. So, as we had talked about before, you've got fear in the market. And anytime you have fear in the market, the hedge funds are going to play off of that fear. That fear is to them candy. And they're going to help excite this fear. And they're going to help excite the fact that these stocks are moving down. And they're going to help them down. And they don't need to do that a whole lot. They're not going to need to borrow a whole lot of shares or even short so many shares into the market to make this happen. Now, again, I'm not saying that they didn't manipulate the stock, because that's exactly what I'm saying. They absolutely manipulated this stock, but they did it in a way that they could do it without costing them any money and costing you all of your money. So here is the title of my video. I got a margin call. Now, it was only for $50. It's right up here, and it's nothing, in all honesty. A margin call can be absolutely huge. Margin calls come when a trader over-liquidates their account and it falls below a certain level of liquidity. They give you a margin call. The same exact thing happens with hedge funds. Well, the thing is when a stock is coming down, hedge funds aren't losing any liquidity. In fact, when they're shorting the stock, they're actually winning. The further it goes down, the more money they make. And they're going to try and help that happen, because the further it goes down, the more money you lose as a holder, especially if you do not trade on a cash account. If you trade on a margin account like I do, because I have the ability to day trade. I had a better ability to day trade a couple months ago when I could do it freely. But when you have to be able to also have margin to short a stock. Now, a lot of day traders also short stocks. I personally do not short stocks. We've talked about that. But you do have to have a margin account for that. So consider this. What they're doing is they're purposely shorting the stock even more to drag it down even further to create margin calls on retail investors. And what that does is that forces them to sell out of their positions, or they get forced out of their positions because, as you can see on the margin call sheet, it even tells you that when you get a margin call, it will either require you to deposit funds or you liquidate 4 times the amount of the call in your assets. I paid mine. I'm not going to let them liquidate nothing. That's my meta. But that's what they're going to do, too. They're going to take one of your highest assets. They're not going to take one of the little guys. They're going to take what you have the most of, and they're going to start liquidating to get their money back. Now, also keep in mind, hedge funds have their hands in the pockets of the brokerages. So it absolutely benefits both parties if these margin calls start flying. I'll be willing to bet there's some other people today and yesterday that received margin calls. And this is why. I absolutely believe that it is a manipulative tactic being used by hedge funds to help drag specific stocks down. Now, again, the entire freaking market was red. I mean, look at this. absolutely red. But what you need to notice the difference in is look at the difference in the percentages. 2%, 5%. Okay, some of them are 11% here and there, but the vast majority of them are only within a couple of percent. In fact, if you go to the, and Sterling actually shows you guys this a lot. This right here, it shows you your decliners, and oh, I don't think I even have it up here. He shows you this a lot. If you look right in here, the vast majority of your advancer or your decliners were between the 2 and 0% range, and then it goes to 2 and 5%. Where we fall is between 5 and 10, and some of them were between 10 and 15, like AMC. Look at the small number of stocks. You got 1,200 between 5 and 10, and 2,200 between 10 and 15. And I'll be willing to bet you all of your meme stocks will be right in here. Let's go back over to the chart. Okay, so MMAT. I classify it as a meme stock. Whether you like it or not, it is. Go look up the definition of a meme stock. Basically, primarily retail or insider held, heavily shorted. That's us. It's been covered by various different YouTubers or different, has a large following by the retail investor, things like that. Those are things that classify as a meme stock. Guess what? We're a meme stock. Anyway, you got MMAT, fell like a meme stock. AMC, fell like a meme stock. Look, we were what, 8.5%, something like that. AMC was down how much today? Oh, I can't even see it on this chart. Oh, hang on. There it is. Down 15%. We were down 8.5%. GME was down 8.5%. Let's see here. Prague. Prague is barely a meme stock, I guess, but they're 13% down. Alibaba, down about 4%. So they didn't quite fall as hard, but look at the movement. Still very the same. Prague, the same movement. Root is starting to fall into the meme stock category, but it's not quite there yet. It needs more of a following of YouTubers and retail investors, but it is actually starting to get there. You're starting to see the momentum pick up on the retail trader side of Root. So that moved the same. Let's go down to our next three here. BlackBerry, down 6.72%. Same movement. Space, down 7.5%. Same exact movement. Naked Brand, down almost the same movement. It had a little bit of a volatile spike there and then back up, but almost the same movement, down 6.5%. So my point is you'll notice that the meme stocks really got pounded on today in the same exact manner. That shows manipulation through and through. And that's what I've got on that part of the video. We're going to go ahead and cut back over to the normal section of the video of Meta. So let's do this. All right, so we opened up the day today at $3.75. We had a high of $3.82, a low of $3.30, and we closed the day out at $3.36, down 8.45% on the day, with about 7.8 million in volume. And like I said a little earlier, we definitely did see a lot of short attacks today. In fact, you could almost consider this whole entire day massive short ladder attacks. Plain and simple. And I'll be willing to bet Fintels is going to be showing some of the same data, as well as Ortex. We're not going to concentrate too much on the 1 minute chart because we know what it is. Here's your 1 hour chart real quick. We have bounced off of the oversold area and have come back up, but we are pointing down on the RSI. Currently, it looks like the MACD is below the signal line and hooking flat. It is not hooking up. It's starting to go flat with maybe a slight downward push. Histogram is starting to shrink, though, on the overall bars. They're getting smaller. So I would start to expect this MACD is gonna start pushing up here very soon. We have recently hit oversold, so again, it's a good spot for people to step in and start buying again. Now, I also don't want to say that there was really any major selling. I don't believe that you had a lot of paper hand selling. That's one big difference you're going to see between this and a few of those other stocks we had talked about. Is this is going to hold strong, very strong, much like your AMCs and your GMEs. You've got apes. If you don't want to consider yourself an ape, don't consider yourself an ape. Consider yourself a diamond-handed unicorn. I don't give a damn. But you've got diamond-handed apes that are willing to hold this shit until it freaking goes to the moon or bust. And in all honesty, that's what it is. That's what it's all about. We are going to win this game. The hedge funds are screwing us right now. They're really trying to just play a game to shake us out. And we are way stronger than them. We're showing them that. I can't get off the topic because they're pissing me off. I'm sorry. All right. Moving on past that. Got to move on past it. Here's your one-day chart showing we're still sticking inside that downward channel, and we really shouldn't be. We know what we hold. We have a great company here. A lot of the tech sector has kind of come back for the last couple of days. Now, yes, I understand they're a little bit red today, but they had good movement, and they weren't as red. We are just being pummeled right now. Again, it's a game of hedge funds pulling it down for them to be able to free up shares. They want to get rid of those synthetic shares the best way they can. The only way they can is to utilize the shares that were sold to us. And that basically would say, hey, here's synthetic shares back, or here's some real shares. And it would free up their liquidity. Moving on. Indices, real quick. We know what they did today. They did crap. That's the daily. Let's go to the 5-minute on them. There you go. Boom. Also, you had Jerome Powell and Yellen do a testimony today. I believe that was right around 10 o'clock or something like that. Shortly after that, it looks like that's when all of this really started taking a turn. All of them did it at about the same exact time, right around that 11 o'clock, 11:30 hour is when everything started just to dip. So, yes, I will say that the Fed and the political end of it and the virus, yes, it definitely took a toll on the overall market, but there was definite help from the hedge funds on the meme stock side of it. All right, let's push on to the options chain. So options chain was actually bullish. And again, we have not seen a bearish option chain, a full bearish option chain, since we switched over to become Meta. And I doubt you'll ever see that. Not many stocks do go fully bear. I mean, if you do, you're going to be delisted pretty soon. But we stay very heavy on the bull side, closer to the 80 to 90% almost every single week, every single day. Today was no exception. 7,300 calls, 976 puts, total of 8,349 contracts traded in total. And the IV's currently sitting at 148%. You're locked on. All right. Here is the whole map. You can see it's extremely red. The only things that you're really seeing green in, man, they are really getting bad with the ads, is healthcare. Look at that. I mean, it's pretty green there, and that's because of, again, the virus. They started pumping money into virus research and, medications and all that other stuff. PPE, medical devices, things like that. That's going to start showing a little bit of green there for this reason. Same thing happened when the Delta variant kicked up. Same thing happened when the initial COVID kicked up. Well, actually, the market took a full-on tank at that point. But when it started to recover, medical is really what it recovered in, as well as the stay-at-home stocks. Moving on to Ortex, let's hit refresh, pull up our data. My computer is slow. All right. So this morning I was actually able to put out my briefing before I hit the road. I was on deliveries today. And whenever I don't get to chit-chat on Twitter throughout the day, I'm either out delivering or I'm very busy in my store. And unfortunately, I missed a whole lot with the day. So here we go, Ortex. It looks like, and this is a recent update, down 1.47%. That's really nothing. They returned about 1 million shares, and they borrowed an additional 500,000 shares. That's virtually flat on the day when you talk about overall. But look at what the stock did. And also keep in mind, just because they returned shares doesn't mean that they were shorted shares. They have a pool of shares they can use to short it, to do what they did today. They have a pool of shares, and it probably won't show up here because they didn't borrow the shares. They didn't utilize those shares to do that. Also, keep in mind, all of this information up here is T2, with the exception of this stuff down here. That gets reported once every couple of weeks, and it was recently reported. 78.41% utilized, 2.45% is the cost to borrow from Ortex, 2.44 days to cover all of the shares that are on loan. Currently, 33.42 million shares are on loan, and that is almost 24% of the free float. Whew. Man, I'm getting really good at rambling that stuff off. Okay, and the current number of days, average number of days these shares have been on loan are 25.66 days. That is how long hedge funds have been holding their short positions long, and that is over the course of 3 months judgment according to Ortex. They've mapped it out 3 months, and it's a continuing moving time frame. But you'll notice that the days keep extending, so it just means that they're holding on longer. That's all. Okay, current estimated short interest is 21.41 million shares, which is 15.32% of the free float. You'll notice that it is still holding strong with these numbers here. I'll be willing to bet that these numbers here are going to go up in the very near future because of the days that we have been seeing recently. Again, I do feel hedge funds are pulling the stock down purposefully on the fear of the market. They're just helping it along. That's all they're doing. They're helping it along, creating it, making it even worse for us. All right, Fintel, let's see what they have to say. Let's hit refresh. All right, so they're talking 3 days to cover currently, not too far off from Vortex. We're at 74.97 out of 100 on the short squeeze score, and that is 334 out of 5,500 stocks that are on this list. Short shares available is currently 1 million, but here is the problem, much like yesterday. That was 9 hours ago. 9 freaking hours ago. So, here's the other issue with Vortex and an issue with Fintel, and it is not their fault, so I don't want Fintel to get mad at me. Please don't punish me. They only report what's reported to them. All right. So if the brokerage that this is does not report to them that these shares were borrowed, then they would never know. And that's why they didn't change it. Now, I had said the same exact thing last night, and you'll see it went up 100,000 and then boom, first thing in the morning, like that. They borrowed almost half. They borrowed 800,000 shares and then returned them real quick and did it again. And again, like I said, it's a game. It also doesn't mean that they're returning the same shares. They're just returning shares. They could be returning their old shares. And again, that doesn't mean they're covered shares. Let's move on past that. Their short borrow fee rate does seem to be coming down at a rapid pace, and I don't understand why. The other ones are still staying up in the 2. Vortex is still staying up in the 2s. Theirs is coming down into the 1.2s, 1.6s, and it doesn't make much sense to me. I don't know. I'm not going to look too deep into this whole number here because these are set by the individual brokerages and whatnot. Or whatever you would call this. Anyhow, short sale volume. This is the dark pools. FINRA. FINRA is the dark pool that we see through Fintel. And as we know, the volume today was about 7.8 million in volume, and FINRA usually makes up half of the overall volume of the traded entity, and it did today. Almost 4 million in FINRA dark pool volume, and over half of that was short. What do you know? Over half. Doesn't look like they were shorting very much, huh? They were. Now, we haven't gotten any updates from the CBOE yet. We do have the PSX-BX volume. I would expect for this number to be pretty close to that 57-ish, 56, 57-ish area. And again, this is only a couple of the exchanges. This does not factor in every single exchange out there and what's been shorted. It just doesn't. I'm sorry. It's also only what's reported to them. So if hinky shit's going on, they're not going to see it. They're not going to get it. It's not getting reported. I'm tripping over my tongue. Give me a second. We're gonna cut away. I gotta go get water. I'm empty here. All right, I'm back. Okay, so let's move on to the very next section, and that's going to be the insider trading. So like I had said yesterday in yesterday's video, I would clear this up as soon as I could, and that happened today. Now, that's going to fall into the very next section too, so let's kind of join them together. Fintel tossed out there this morning on Twitter the explanation of this. I wasn't at the present moment in time realizing, because it was very early in the morning, that it was a smart-ass remark, but I do now, after reading into it more later on in the day. So anyway, let's clear this up really quick. Dr. Waldron did exercise 471,438 shares worth in options, and right there, sorry, and then immediately sold those shares right back at $4.05 at the as a price. Now, he did not purchase any more shares at that time. It does not mean that he did not purchase any more shares. He might have just been waiting for a pullback. Maybe he's purchased them today. Maybe he purchased them yesterday. And we're just waiting on another Form 4 to come out. As you'll notice, the 18th is the day before George's first filing, and then he did it again on the 22nd. He actually wound up having to sell some more shares on the 22nd to finish up his tax liability. So there's a chance that he could have sold these off for his taxes and was just waiting to buy the stock at the right price to have this cover his tax end of it. We don't know. But it also shows that he does have currently 1.5, almost 1.6 million still to go to exercise. So, yeah, I mean, I'm still super bullish about it. This in no way means anything bearish. It just says that he exercised and sold, and we're just waiting to see when he buys and what he buys. It'll be bearish if he never buys back. Then I would consider it a little bit, But even then, I mean, the stock market's about making money, guys. That's what we're here for. If that's what he did, then kudos to you. You made some money. Great job, Doc. Let's push on past this one. Institutional owners. Do we have any new owners today? Oh, that's not the one. This one. Buyers. Nope, nothing happened today, it looks like. Wonder if we had any new sellers. Nope, no new sellers either. Well, doesn't look like we had a whole lot of action in that end of it. Let's move on over to Twitter. Let's talk about this stuff. So, Fintel on the 29th put out this right here, and it carries on. Hey, at Palicaris, you asked us to report your filings more fully. How are we doing? Basically being a fiduciary on the previous comment from George saying, please accurately show these filings, because when George put his filings up, Fintel only put up that he sold. He didn't, purchase back. It looked very, very bearish on their reporting. Even though, yes, when you went into the actual report, it did show that he purchased the shares, but it's the way they worded things. Unfortunately, on this one, they had it right, and he was just being an asshat about it, straightforward. But thanks, Dave, for getting right back out of it, getting right back at him. So, at Fintel, files out of spite, because you reek of bitterness and your tweeting doesn't convey objectiveness. Thanks, Dave. That's awesome, man. Yeah, they're going to throw a temper tantrum. So, again, that's why I said I hope Fintel doesn't get too mad at me. It's all in good fun there, Will Tonio. I watch all of your broadcasts if you happen to be listening to this. We do appreciate what you're doing. We do know that, not all of this stuff is in your hands. All that we're asking is that maybe you just have the people who write up your filings think about the way they're putting it a little bit more. You're supposed to be for the people, not for the hedge funds. And the way you worded that, that's for the hedge funds. And that's all I got for you guys today. Make sure you like and subscribe and do what you got to do for these videos. This is a little bit more up to pace. This is a long one for you. Sorry about that. Anyway, I hope you guys got a lot of enjoyment. I hope you learned something. I hope my conspiracy theory wasn't too much for you. Peace.